Hey guys, Craig here and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to tell you the story of JonBénet Ramsey. JonBénet Ramsey was an American child beauty pageant star whose body was tragically found on December 26, 1996 in her family home in Boulder, Colorado. The case to this point is still unsolved, so grab yourself a drink and we'll get into who killed JonBénet Ramsey. JonBénet Ramsey was born on August 6, 1990 in Atlanta, Georgia. She was the youngest of two children to her parents, Patricia and John Ramsey. She had an older brother called Burke and an older half-sister that tragically died in a car crash. JonBénet's name comes from the combination of her father's first and middle names. Speaking of JonBénet's father, John Ramsey was an American businessman who was president of Access Graphics, which was a computer systems company that gained him a net worth of $6.4 million. This in turn meant that he and his family could afford to live in a 15-bedroom mansion. In 1996, John Ramsey was named Entrepreneur of the Year by the Boulder Chamber of Commerce. So I would say he was a pretty successful businessman all round. His wife Patsy, on the other hand, was highly criticised in the media following JonBénet's death for her apparent diva-like attitude due to her being your typical pageant mother. So on December 26, 1996, Patsy Ramsey realised that her daughter was missing after she found a 2.5-page handwritten ransom note on her kitchen staircase. The ransom note demanded $118,000 US. John Ramsey then immediately pointed out to police that this was the exact amount that he was paid the prior year for his Christmas bonus, therefore implying that it must be someone that had access to this information that was involved in the crime. Upon further investigation of the ransom note, police stated that it was unusually long and that it was very strange for a ransom note to be written at the scene of the crime. This in turn made police believe that the note was staged. Also, the ransom note didn't have any fingerprints on it, except that of Patsy Ramsey's and the detectives who had handled it, although it must be noted at this point that the ransom note was indeed written on Patsy Ramsey's own notepad. So police called in numerous handwriting experts to examine the ransom note, and although police ruled out that John Ramsey wrote the note, some experts could not rule out the possibility of Patsy Ramsey being the note's author. The only people known to be in the Ramsey house at the time of JonBénet's death was immediate family. The ransom note did contain specific instructions not to contact the police, but Patsy telephoned the police at 5:52 a.m. anyway.
911 emergency.
Police.
What's going on?
515th Street.
What's going on there, ma'am?
We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please.
Explain to me what's going on, okay?
There's a note left and our daughter's gone.
A note was left and your daughter is gone? How old is your daughter?
6 years old. She's gone. 6 years old.
How long ago was this?
I don't know. I just found the note. And my daughter's
Does it say who took her?
What?
Does it say who took her?
I don't know. There's a ransom note here.
It's a ransom note?
It says SBTC. Victory. Please.
Okay, what's your name? Are you
Patsy Ramsey, I'm the mother. Oh my God. Please.
I'm sending an officer over, okay?
Please.
Do you know how long she's been gone?
No, I don't. Please, we just got out. Is she right here? Oh my God, please.
Two police officers responded to the 911 call and arrived at the Ramsey home within 3 minutes. They did conduct a courtesy search of the property, but no signs of forced entry were ever found. Officer Rick French went to the basement and found a door that was locked with a wooden latch. He then paused for a moment in front of the door, but then walked away without opening it. The officer later explained that he was looking for an exit route used by the kidnapper, and because the door was locked from the outside, he ruled this out. But as we know, JonBénet's body was later found behind this door. So at this point, with JonBénet still missing, John Ramsey did indeed make arrangements to pay the ransom money. Shortly after, a forensic team was dispatched to the house, and the team initially believed that the child had been kidnapped, and that the only room in the house that needed cordoning off was the bedroom. No precautions were taken to prevent cross-contamination of evidence throughout the rest of the house. And I don't know about you, but this just absolutely baffles me and shocks me, because isn't it basic police protocol to cordon off the scene of the crime? Meanwhile, friends and family members started to arrive at the Ramsey household to support them. But strangely, the Ramseys allowed the visitors to start putting things away and cleaning down surfaces in the kitchen, possibly destroying any evidence of a would-be intruder. Boulder detective Linda Arnett arrived at 8 AM with the goal of awaiting the kidnappers' instructions. But strangely, there was never an attempt by anybody to claim the ransom money, which is strange after whoever done this went to the trouble of leaving a lengthy ransom note. Something doesn't add up, don't you think? At 1 PM, Detective Arnett asked John Ramsey and a family friend to search the remainder of the house to see if anything seemed amiss. They started their search in the basement, where John Ramsey opens the door that Officer French had overlooked earlier. He found his daughter's body lying in one of the rooms. JonBénet's mouth was covered with duct tape, and nylon cord was found wrapped around her wrists and neck. Her torso at this point was also covered with a blanket. But bizarrely, at this point, John Ramsey picked up the child's body and took it upstairs. But when JonBénet's body was moved, the crime scene was further contaminated and critical forensic evidence was disturbed. The autopsy revealed that JonBénet had been killed by strangulation and a skull fracture. The official cause of death was asphyxia by strangulation. There was no evidence of conventional rape, but sexual assault could not be ruled out, even though there was no semen found at the scene of the crime. The autopsy also revealed that JonBénet had pineapple in her stomach, which she had eaten a few hours before her death. Photographs taken of the Ramsey home on the day of JonBénet's death shows a bowl of pineapple sitting on the kitchen table. However, neither John or Patsy says that they remember giving JonBénet any pineapple, nor do they remember placing a bowl of pineapple on the table. But police reports do indicate that they found Burke Ramsey's fingerprints on this very bowl. Another strange fact is that John and Patsy Ramsey claimed that their son Burke slept all through the night and all through everything that had happened. But when Patsy made her frantic 911 call, she forgot to hang up the phone properly, and you can hear three people's voices, which we believe are Patsy herself, John Ramsey, and Burke. Although the audio isn't very clear, some experts claim to hear Patsy saying, "Right, I phoned the police, what do we do now?" But please note, this is disputed. In December 2003, forensic investigators extracted enough material from a mixed blood sample found on JonBénet's underwear to establish a DNA profile. That DNA belonged to an unknown male person and did exclude any of the Ramsey family members. Despite having 1.6 million DNA profiles on their systems, police could not match this DNA to anybody. It's important to note that at this point, the Boulder, Colorado police initially focused most of their investigation upon John and Patsy Ramsey, but by October, the police had 1,600 people of interest on their radar. Lou Schmidt was a detective who came out of retirement in early 1997 to assist the Boulder County District's attorney with the case. In May of 1998, he presented his findings to the Boulder police, and he concluded that the evidence pointed away from Mr. and Mrs. Ramsey, but local police still thought that the Ramseys were guilty. The two lead investigators in the case had opposing views. Both Lou Schmidt and Stephen Thomas would ultimately resign. Lou Schmidt because he believed that investigators had totally overlooked the intruder hypotheses, and Stephen Thomas resigned because he believed that the district attorney's office had interfered and failed to support the police in the investigation. So a grand jury was convened on September 15th, 1998 to consider indicting the Ramseys with charges related to the case. In 1999, the grand jury returned a true bill to charge the Ramseys with placing their child at risk, which ultimately led to her death, and also with obstructing an investigation of murder. But the district attorney, Alex Hunter, did not prosecute them because he did not believe that he could prove beyond reasonable doubt that the Ramseys were guilty, and this is what was required for a criminal conviction. So now, let's take a look at some popular theories and some suspects, starting with the family member theory. According to a retired FBI profiler, statistically, there is a high possibility that a family member or caregiver is normally involved in a child homicide of this nature. Although there is no evidence of forced entry at the Ramsey household, but what police do suspect is evidence of staging, such as the ransom note. At the time, police also noted that they didn't find the Ramseys very cooperative in helping them to solve the death of their daughter. But the Ramseys would later go on to say that they were reluctant due to the fear that a full investigation would not be done into the intruder theory, and that they themselves would be vilified instead. One theory is that Patsy Ramsey struck JonBénet in a fit of rage after a bedwetting incident, and then strangled her to cover up what had happened, after she mistakenly thought that she was already dead. However, I think this is unlikely, as Patsy Ramsey was not known for having a history of uncontrolled anger, and Burke Ramsey, her son, would also later go on to say that his parents did not have a temper and never really even spanked them, let alone have enough anger in her to kill her daughter. But strangely, the strangulation could have been a red herring to conceal other elements of the assault and killing. We just don't know. In 1999, the Colorado governor spoke out, telling the Ramseys to quit hiding behind their attorneys and PR firms and assist the investigation. But Lou Schmidt assessed the evidence and concluded that the intruder had indeed committed this crime and not the Ramseys. But we can't say this for definite. On the night that JonBénet was killed, there had been 2 windows that were left slightly open to allow for electrical cord for the outside Christmas lights to be passed through the broken basement window. Smith's theory is that someone entered the Ramseys' house through this basement window, but this has been highly criticised because there was an intact cobweb found on that basement window, and the steel grate that covered the window had been undisturbed. Also, the foliage and dust on the windowsill were also undisturbed. But Schmidt believes that the intruder did come in through this window and stunned JonBénet with a stun gun, and then took her down to the basement where he proceeded to kill her, and then in a panic decided to leave a fake ransom note. Another popular theory is that because JonBénet was a beauty pageant queen, that it could have attracted the attention of paedophiles. There were 30 known registered sex offenders living within a 2-mile radius of the Ramsey home at the time of JonBénet's death. It's also important to note that a 44-year-old man was arrested in Bangkok, Thailand on August 15, 2006, when he falsely confessed to the murder of JonBénet. He claimed that he drugged her and sexually abused her and then accidentally killed her. But according to the district authorities, they couldn't find any evidence linking this man to the scene of the crime. And in his confession that he provided, he only provided basic facts that were already known by the general public. It is also hard to believe that he drugged JonBénet when there was absolutely no traces of drugs found when the autopsy was convened. Over the years, the Ramsey family have filed numerous lawsuits against numerous magazines and media companies, and they have done this to varied success. So guys, that was the tragic story of 6-year-old JonBénet Ramsey. As I said in the beginning of this video, this case is still unsolved to this day. So let me know in the comment section below who you think killed JonBénet. Me personally, I can't rule out her brother Burke. I just can't understand why Patsy and John Ramsey would say that their son was asleep if he was indeed awake. My theory is that maybe Burke Ramsey hit JonBénet in a fit of anger, and Patsy and John decided to cover it up so that they didn't lose both children that night. Anyway guys, we'll leave it there for now. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. And I will see you all next time for another video. Bye!